temple of speed. The fastest place on a Formula One calendar, one of the most traditional homes of motorsport anywhere. This is one of the most beautiful places to go and have a race. If you haven't been in real life, I suggest that you do. Welcome to Monza. Welcome to 5.79 kilometers of the greatest and fastest racing that is going to be here for the iRacing Grand Prix Series all season long. Jake Sperry, Jay Kennedy, here to bring you round 8. It is the last round before you get yourself into what is incredible action. The drop rounds are coming, but this circuit on the outskirts of Milan in the Royal Park of Monza, Jay, there is no other place that truly encapsulates the spirit of racing like this place.
One of the oldest original circuits in the world, built forever ago, that's still standing. It's an incredible circuit, as you said. If you've never been, you should go. That includes me. I have never been. I need to go. It is on my bucket list of racing circuits to go to, and I cannot wait to do it one day. But it's a track that we've talked about many times before in this series and in others, that it just brings out great racing just naturally. It just provides great racing. The other reason you know it's a great track, there's no corner numbers. Every corner has a name. You know that when every corner has a name, that you've got a great circuit ahead of you. So this is going to be brilliant. Cannot wait.
Filo, Curva Grande, the Della Roggia, the run all the way up to the Curva Alboreto that ends the lap. You've got everything and then some, of course, to showcase just how great of a track this place is and always will be in terms of racing action and the history and the heritage of a circuit which has had all sorts that goes through. This is how the championship lines up though right now. It is as close can be. Oliver Stepanov, Luis Nunez, the gap not much at all, just a small smattering of points. 48, 58, 23 points is the gap at the top. Yes, I did just do maths live on air with Marcel Fassbender in third, just a solitary point clear of Anthony Catt in fourth, but crucially Kalen Chin might be the most interesting driver out of all of them here, Jay. Fifth in the championship, he's about 300 points back, but crucially 2 races in hand.
Yeah, he's interesting to think about when you look at the maths behind the championship standings. So we haven't got 100% of an idea on how the championship looks at this stage, but we'll, as you said, start to get drop rounds coming into play after this round, and the championship will even out. It's going to be a very interesting season. Must say, it's interesting seeing Luis Nunez up as high as he is. He hasn't had the best results in our broadcast races, but he's just done enough in our broadcast races and done very well in the non-broadcast races to find himself in a great championship position. Marcel Fassbender as well. He hasn't had outstanding results in the broadcast races, but he's done a very good job to get points in other races as well. And Anthony Catt has done a very good job to find himself in fourth.
He has. Anthony Catt has been brilliantly consistent all season long. That's why he's so high up in the championship. You look at drivers as well there. Jeremy Olivieri, I think, was one key there. 9th position, hasn't done a single broadcast race so far this season, so is there on merit of performance. There is Kalen Chin, number 3 at this point in time, down through this small dip under the old oval banking and up to Ascari, the left, one of the only places you've got to get it going.
Oh,
and
no.
This first lap of his is going to be abandoned. So this might be a bit troublesome in terms of times. Fassbender then is going to come to the line. That lap's not going to count. So his dramas then will continue, and a number of drivers trying to push the absolute limits today and are not necessarily finding them. Number 4 though out on track. It's nice to see him back. Andreas Henkel, what a driver he can be when he turns up on his day in all white, rounds through Curva Alboreto, looking for the start line and the finish line, and a good time, and a 19 flat is good enough for the front row.
Yes, very close. P2 in the end, but he'll take that, only 0.04 of a second behind of Matteo Igalotti. Nobody else is going to get a lap in from what I can see. I'll take that back. Cedric Beal will get a lap in, but this lap has not lit up the timing sheets. Remember, this is
doesn't count.
Well, it's not even going to count. It's his 3rd lap, but even then the 2nd lap usually does not do anything on the timing sheets anyway because there's no battery left in the car. So qualifying's done. We can go through our grid.
Almost. We've got Kent Nielsen, though, and he's going to be very close to the line.
Oh, you're right.
As he runs through, he's going to be about 3 seconds away, and he just gets over in time, and he puts a 19.8 down on the board. That's good enough to go 7th fastest. Let's look at the grid, because this is a very topsy-turvy grid here, ladies and gentlemen, and it looks as follows. Matteo Ugolotti then, hometown, pole position, 118.988 is going to be on the front with Andreas Henkel alongside. The driver with the lowest die rating in the field, John Petter Runda, who is there from Norway, he lines up 3rd with Cedric Beal in 4th position. Anthony Catt and Felipe Giro, they are 5th and 6th, with Kent Nielsen starting 7th and Thomas Wieck in 8th position. Brandon Powell will go from 9th. Adam Webb will round out the top 10. And the final 2 drivers to set lap times, Victor Auad and Iestin Chiapalone. Those 2 in 11th and 12th. And 5 drivers not setting a time, all by iRacing, all with the exception of maybe Rolly Schilter, who had a chance of a win today. Oliver Stepanov, Kalen Chin, Marcel Fassbender, Luis Nunez, Rolly Schilter. What a field. This has got itself some of that old school 2017 field, Jay, where half the grid would have a penalty for an engine change.
How bizarre is it, though, that out of our 5 drivers that didn't set a qualifying time, 4 of those are in our top 5 of the championship.
Well, this is
That's crazy.
It's a make it all happen race, and they do have 2 minutes to grid themselves up. It'll be 26 laps. They do have to make a tyre change, and because this is one of the fastest laps on the calendar, this race is going to go by quickly. As is always tradition here with Monza, watch out at turn 1. Somebody always looks to try and send it in at turn 1. We've seen havoc many a time before. This is no difference here as they get themselves ready. This is one of the highest speed circuits, and the top 2 know they've got to build a gap early because there are some very quick drivers behind who are wanting to make some progress. Lights on here at Monza, lights out here at Monza, and a good start by Ugolotti off at the front. John Petter Runda not quite as good as Felipe Giro got a great run, but he didn't know where he needed to go. They all run themselves around. Luis Nunez, who's going through, and Kalen Chin taking it very easy at the back as they run through the opening section of the track, through the Retafilo. Clean, I can't believe my eyes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a little bit of contact there between Cedric Beal and Anthony Catt, but it was wheeling the side pod both ways, so I think they're both going to get away with that okay. Kent Nielsen, Felipe Giro side by side. Brandon Powell trying to make moves already. It looks like gone through first couple of corners safely. But surprisingly, Kalen Chin, Oliver Stepanov, they both were very, very ginger at the start. They took their time, made sure they weren't getting involved in any mess at the start. Now they're starting to put their foot down.
Yeah, now they've got to go. They know the race is clean. They've just got to start making the passes. They run up, though, your leaders, over to Ascari for the first time as they run through. They started to have some looks here. Luis Nunez making a pass then on Adam Webb, and a bit of side-by-side between Howard and Chin as well. There's Felipe Giro, had a very good start, but only able to gain the 1 place. But suddenly, every position matters, and we've got a really good scrap just in the background as well. They all go through and all try and figure out where they need to be. That's Oliver Stepanov threading the needle between Kalen Chin and Victor Auad, so a great pass there, and they've got a really motor. One car jumping the start then early, that's Cedric Beal.
I don't believe he has jumped the start. I don't see any black flags, so maybe he's decided, I'm just going to come in and take the soft tyres. Yeah, take the soft straight away and go and see what happens.
Yeah, he is. I'll tell you what, that might be
front wing.
A great strategy call, unless he's got to deal with the front wing. So front wing might be an issue, and that is a long, long stop. So that is not the plan, and I don't think he's very happy with Anthony Catt. I think his race might be done for damage.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same as you, and we saw that contact at the start. There was a bit of wheel to wheel, as you said, it's the wheel to side pod, and yeah, I think maybe rear wing damage. So we missed that in the calamity at the start. We thought it was pretty clean, but obviously it was a little bit messier than we had expected. Front of the field, Ugolotti has not broken that magic second. Remember what happens at the start of lap 3, DRS activated. Andreas Henkel is still in DRS range.
Tell you what, give some credit as well to Jean Petarunda out there at this point in time, because he has built a gap to Anthony Cat. He has built himself within a range to Andres Henkel, not within a second, but he is driving really well. Everything's got a medium compound tyre, so they've all gone on the same strategy. Here's where the DRS first can become useful. Brandon Powell having to defend because Luis Nunez is on the charge. He's looking for 8th place around the outside at turn 1. Room absolutely given at turn 2. And then Loreto Filo, thank you very much, and a great move.
Very, very nicely done there by Luis Nunez. Remember, he didn't get a qualifying time in. Started in 16th position, second to last on the grid. He's already passed half the field. He's up into 8th. Marcel Fastbender through on Adam Webb. Just saw there on the timing sheets on the side of the screen. And stepping off through as well.
I'd like to get a replay actually of Adam Webb here, just coming into the Loreto Filo, because he very nearly had the car pointing backwards. Virtual Racing School replay then asking you shall receive. So running through, this was just after what happened. So this is going to be the pass that's going to get it done. And this is what happens into turn 1. He looks for the brakes. Oh, back really kicks out. He's lucky that car was a bit back.
He's done a very good job to hold on to that, hasn't he? He's almost ended up in the fence on the inside, or ended up shooting it across towards the fence on the inside, but he's done a very good job to maintain the spot, hold the position. And my apologies for my beautiful voice. COVID is very, very fun.
It is absolutely not. And I'm sure that Jay is going to try and get a bit of rest after they run to the Loreto Filo then, as they go through to the inside. Nunez tips around Thomas Beek, and Beek's going to have to wait for everybody to run through before he can put the power down. It was very optimistic by the Spaniard, who knew he had to go and make some places, came from a long way back trying to get that stop, tried to get to the inside, and Beek just didn't see it.
It was just messy, wasn't it? I mean, It was one of those incidents you could sort of feel it happening in slow motion. It didn't need to happen, but it's unfortunately one of those ones that we'll see many, many times here at Monza. Yeah, it's a bit messy.
He tried to get out of the way, and Thomas Beek took the natural racing line, and suddenly the door was closed. There's not much you can do. Speaking of what can you do, Kent Nielsen, it's nice to see him back up at the pointy end of the field. He's got eyes on Anthony Cat here in 4th position, who always seems to do something a little different to everyone else, goes against the grain. But today, he's going to have to do something the same as everyone else, it seems, at this point in time. Felipe Giro just behind. This fight, 4th, 5th and 6th, might be a really interesting battle between now and the end of this race.
Well, Anthony Cat doing things against the grain is the first time we've seen him do the same as everyone else. So maybe that is his against the grain. But you're right, we've seen almost every race this season. He started on an alternate tyre from everyone else, or pitted way out of sequence from everyone else. And I'll tell you what, how tight did that group get there? And Nunez with a big power and slide coming out of the exit.
Oh, and just in the grass a little bit, Felipe Giro trying to run around the outside. He's not happy that he hasn't been given any room, and almost contact as they go through into the Rogier, and into the back goes Kent Nielsen. Nielsen and Giro having a huge argy-bargy, and then as they go through, and that was very ugly.
That was just messy. That was just horrible, and that started from Anthony Cat defending the position up through the first chicane, and then ever since that point they just went side by side through the start. Evergrande, and then you just see here a little bit of contact. Nielsen backs out of it, but then was sort of almost forced onto the grass, wasn't he? It's just a messy incident altogether.
Yeah, everyone not happy about it, and suddenly through the middle, 3 wide, here comes Luis Nunez trying to get, sorry, that's Oliver Stepanov, trying to get past both of them here. Where's he come from? Trying to make that pass. Ollie Stepanov, what a move, and suddenly Kalen Chin's going to get some drive here off of the exit. He's going to try and get through. Nielsen's going to pit. No surprises there. He's probably got damage to the front wing after that.
Mechanical black flag.
Through. And mechanical black flags, but his race is going to be over then as he drops into the pit. Giro can't do anything. Whoa, Kalen Chin late on the brakes. He goes through, and he'll have to cover as well, because on the inside, Brandon Powell trying to get a move done.
This has just turned into crazy. We said how clean the start was. Well, I think they've realised that they've been a little bit too cautious at the start and need to up the ante a bit. This has got messy extremely quickly, and I think a few drivers might need to decide to cool off a little bit. maybe turn up the cool suit, turn on the fan, just take a chill for a couple of minutes, get their head screwed back on and go at it again. But this is turned into all sorts of messy. Stepanov up, 6 spots. Fassbender up 9. Luis Nunez up 11. And Kalen Chin, who we've seen be one of the more aggressive drivers throughout this season. Oh, no.
That is a big hit. They're okay, so damage shows you one thing, but they got close, and that could have been a whole lot worse in terms of how they got there. Kalen Chin has been mega on the brakes, but that there, I think he just got away with. Got the run, though, on that run up the hill, but he's got himself the pass, but that could have been a million times worse than what it was. The braking distances here around this track is staggering, because those with confidence can brake. That's where you make the time. Nunez spun it, and through goes Stepanov.
He held on to it, but he's lost 2 spots. But wow, Luis Nunez just doesn't look as comfortable as what we would normally expect. I'm a little surprised. He looks a little bit shaken.
He does look shaken, and I think it really shows that he doesn't have the confidence through the opening section. And that sort of spin there through turn 1 wasn't because he was on the power too much. It was really a weird spin in the sense that he had the car turned in, and he was looking to maybe add a little bit of throttle, and the car just didn't want to turn back again. It's such a bizarre spin.
Yeah, it was a very strange one, but he's been able to continue on, which is the most important bit. He's got Kalen Chin now in his DRS range. Not quite close enough to close in that gap. Speaking of gaps at the front, Ugolotti has broken the magic 1 second from Andreas Henkel, but it's only going to take 1 lap of full battery power from Henkel to close that back down. So while it's at 1.4 seconds, you wouldn't say that that's a safe gap for Matteo Ugolotti at this stage.
No, he's being pressured at this point, and Matteo Ugolotti, I would say at this moment in time, Jay, has got the most outside of outside shots for the championship, and he's just hoping that he can find win upon win in the final 5 rounds of this season, because he's going to have used all his drop rounds. Everyone else around him can only gain a little bit here and there. He is someone who has been picking up win upon win upon win.
He is a superstar in this car, isn't he? We've seen him time and time again do very, very well. Tell you what, this battle's getting quite heated. This is the battle of the guys that didn't qualify or didn't get a qualifying lap in. Marcel Fassbender defending. Oh, Matteo Ugolotti's made a mistake.
And just like that,
there goes the second.
Into play comes Henkel, a second off the back, just like that, and it comes at a really costly point in time. It came at the second Lesmo, and all of a sudden, Andreas Henkel is in with a shot and making a pass. Ugolotti finds himself in a race.
Sure does. Ugolotti's well and truly feeling some pressure for the first time this race. He's feeling pressure from behind. I was about to say that Stepanov and Fassbender were going at it. And they will continue to go at it into turn 1, but Andreas Henkel now, first time all race that he's got DRS, and he's using it to his advantage. Is he going to be close enough to get a move done? Don't think so this time, but he's going to apply the pressure. And now, Matteo Ugolotti knows he's in a race.
He does. Now here comes Oliver Stepanov to move through up inside the top 5. Good pass as he gets that sorted. Kalen Chin, Luis Nunez, Felipe Giro, Brandon Powell into Dorita Filo. They're going to continue their fight for the exit. So their race certainly not over and done with just yet, as they have to try and work out where to go. And to the outside tries Brandon Powell, but he scrubs a lot of speed there with the way he tried to move, so he's going to have to lift off. You got Webb, you got Chiapolone who's in there, Victor Awad. It is getting a little bit dizzying here for the spots inside the top 10.
Been a little bit messy, isn't it? They're not behaving in the normal smooth manner. They're all trying to shuffle and change positions. I think we saw 3 overtakes at the same corner there on that lap, and almost saw a couple more into the second chicane between Webb, Chiapolone and Victor Awad. So yeah, getting a little bit messy in that pack. Now Anthony Catt has lost a lot of ground once again. Now I'm wondering if he's still suffering a little bit of damage from that lap 1 incident with Cedric Beale. So will we see Anthony Catt come in and get that damage fixed? Because he definitely is losing time to everyone around him. See, last lap by, it was around about 1 second slower than the leader. Marcel Fassbender as well Because Andreas Henkel actually has got a slowdown penalty.
And that is massive for Henkel's race, because that's going to drop him outside of range, and that would be for being too aggressive in through the opening corner. So that will cost him a couple seconds around here, and his race is going to be dramatic. Now, speaking of dramatic, here comes Stepanov to the inside of the Rogia, and Anthony Kat's going to let him have it.
Nice
and I'd say Anthony Kat's pace is okay. It's very similar in comparison to Jean-Peter Runda, who is in third position, is only 0.2 of a second slower. So that for Anthony Cat, I think that's just his pure pace.
Yeah, potentially you're right. It's maybe looking too far into that. It's, he has lost a fair bit of ground over the time in this race. Now, we have had another pit stop as well. Thomas Viek's come in, gone onto the soft compound tyre. So interesting that he's already on the softs at this point. May give us a bit of a guide. 17 laps on softs. I mean, Cedric Beale's going to try and do 25, so never know. It isn't a too higher load, too high a wear track, so we can see a fair bit of tyre life in these tyres here. So maybe a track that you can push it and make it work.
Yeah, I'd say that this is the sort of circuit where you're not going to get too much in terms of the wear, so you can be a bit more aggressive. Speaking of aggressive, you can see how aggressively that camera was shaking running into the opening corner. It shows you just how much power these machines have, as on the outside, trying to get the pass on Brandon Powell, goes out of web, and round you go, and a big collision as they go through. Caught up, Iestin Chiapolo with nowhere to go, and Roly Schilter joining in the action.
And Chapelone, unfortunately, as you said, nowhere to go. Track was completely blocked. He had to take the T-bone, and that was all he could do. And, wondering if he's got a little bit of steering damage, but he definitely lost the front wing. I think there is a tiny little bit of steering damage, but that's just unfortunate there for him. And we'll see if we can have another look. But you'll see there's literally nowhere for him to go. He's got nowhere to go but just make contact.
Well, it's such a narrow section of track, and it's again 2 into 1, little bit of netcode there, but bang, that's the hit. And you've got to leave a little bit more room, especially when they were looking at the server here today, James. Not often we get to talk about server, but because there are so many Americans here, I believe we're on a US Boston server.
Yeah, we are. We've got a very international field, but yeah, on a US Boston server. We don't have that too often in this series. It's usually a very Euro-dominated server, and the one Australian isn't actually living in Australia, so running it on a Euro server isn't horrible. Chapelone will come into the pits here and get a new front wing. Schilter's also come in as well. Bit damage fixed, so a little bit of a devastating lap for those guys. Brandon Powell, though, the one that did get spun, has continued on.
He has, and nobody else with mechanical flag saying that their race is all over and done with. Cedric Beale back out and away. By the way, he is 1 minute and 3 seconds down. He's 13 seconds back of Thomas Viek, so his race not over. He's still going. Marcel Fassbender, though, eyes on Anthony Cat. He'll also have eyes behind, because that's Kalen Chin, number 3, right behind him. And Chin absolutely needs these places, because this is going to be a fight for points.
And this should be a very, very good points haul round as well. We're expecting around about 300 points for a win today. So taking every point you can in this race is going to be very, very crucial. So Kalen Chin. Yeah, okay. So Andreas Henkel's decided he's going to try and undercut, which I think is probably the smartest move to do. You can't just follow Ugolotti in. You've got to try and do something else.
I agree. And Andreas Henkel will go down to the penultimate box and knows as he angles it up, he'll go on the jacks, he'll go off the jacks, he'll be right behind this group as they scrap in towards turn 1. No move on Anthony Cat just yet. He holds his own quite nicely. But where does Henkel come out in comparison? Well, he's behind Victor Auad, but I think he's behind enough at this moment in time where he can catch that probably at the end of the lap. So he'll be getting a tow beautifully on the run up to the Curva Alboreto. Cat again defending wonderfully here at lap 13 of 26, halfway complete at the end of this lap.
Brandon Powell's also come in, and he's, no surprise, taking a little bit extra time in his pit stop, getting some damage fixed. It'll be a replacement on the front wing, maybe a couple of other things, but he's gone to the soft tyres, so everyone, no surprise, gone medium to soft. And still 9 of our 17 starters left to make their pit stop.
ball there. And again, a little search from Kalen Chin, who is being absolutely held up at this point. He knows he's got pace. He will want to try and charge forward, but he knows every time that rear wing opens, Marcel Fassbender gets himself a better run with Anthony Cat in front. It's the most horrible defence to deal with. Into the pits comes Jean Peterunda from third position. Stepanov's going to stay out a little longer then in terms of this run. Ugolotti also deciding to stay out longer. Now this is going to become a really important point, because every lap that Ugolotti does not come in is a lap Andreas Henkel gets to attack.
Yeah, exactly right. It's going to be very interesting to watch the time that Henkel does on his first flying lap here too, in comparison to Ugolotti. Gives a really good guide on how much extra pace there are in the soft compound tyres compared to the mediums. Track temperature we haven't talked about too much either. It's quite hot out there, 45 degrees Celsius track temperature at the moment.
It is a bit of a scorcher, but we are in the midday Italian heat, so no surprises there in terms of how they look to go about their business. Fassbender through now on Anthony Cat, so the pass then getting made in towards turn one. No surprises there at the Rettifilo. Now Kalen Chin's got to find a pass at this moment in time, or worry that Luis Nunez will get onto the back of the group, and that could be a little bit concerning. Moving on this back stretch with all sorts of attacking now, and we'll look to try and go down the inside and pick this move up. Ugolotti stays out then in this race. Stepanov stays out in second, and in comes Kalen Chin after making the pass. The ultimate move of saying, yeah, I've got past you, but now I'm going to pit.
The positive for Anthony Cat is he's still got DRS. It would have been unfortunate if that pass had pushed him to further than a second behind Fassbender, so that's a positive. And fastest lap of the race, no surprise, from Andreas Henkel. And have a look at the pace difference between he and Matteo Ugolotti, 1.5 seconds. Now, do you remember what the gap was before Henkel pitted? It was under a second.
1.5 seconds.
It sure was. This is on.
So it is on. I believe Henkel might take the race lead then if his stop is good, and Ugolotti's going to look behind him.
He has to pit this lap.
And he has to. You'd have to say, if he wants the tyre life, and that could be the key to Matteo Ugolotti's race, he wants the better tyre life to attack late on in this one, but he can't afford to drop too much time in terms of how he gets there. This is an all-important, all-encompassing moment in what is a very, very important race. A bit of side-by-side into one. Brandon Powell and the Eston Chiapolo, the two Americans fighting.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Brandon Powell will be nervous every time he goes into turn one on the inside and is forced to the outside, because he's seen his life flash before his eyes a couple of times. I was about to say he hasn't pitted, which is a surprise. Stepanov hasn't pitted. Fassbender comes in. Anthony Cat does not pit. Now, I can see Anthony Cat going all the way to, say, lap 22, 23 here. And as we said, doing the alternate from everyone else. Just smashing out those soft tyres right at the end and going as hard as he can right at the end. Where will Fassbender come out in relation to Kalen Chin is the big question.
Where indeed, and Kalen Chin right now runs down the front stretch. He'll have the advantage when they reach the brakes onto the Rettifilo, and he's going to get into his toe at this point in time. Try and get to the outside. It's going to be so close. They run into Rettifilo, and it's going to still be close. They come off the exit, but Fassbender's covered it off wonderfully. Beautiful
Drop from Marcel Fassbender to hold on. I thought there was no way that he was going to maintain the spot. Kalen Chin would be coming quickly. Interesting looking at the outlaps. Fastest lap we obviously saw from Andreas Henkel not that long ago, but in regards to sector times, that last lap there, that outlap from Kalen Chin, was incredibly quick. Take away the first sector, that would have been the fastest lap of the race. So the fastest, 5/6 of the lap, taking out that first sector. Incredibly good pace from Kalen Chin, as he now has to get to the grass to try to avoid contact with the DRS. Through you go.
Look left, door shut. Look right, pushed onto two tyres on terra firma. And it worked. Anthony Cat now going to come in and make his stop. So another driver deciding it's time to make the right decision. And Cat will be thinking about what he does from here on out. He'll go up, he'll go down, and he'll get back out and away again and he's going to know that that group is going to be flying by him 1, 2, and 3 as he leaves. There go those 3 that he was racing with. Cat undercut in the stop. Felipe Giro's not going to reach him either. So well stopped from Anthony Cat. Knew on race pace he wasn't the same as those 3 in front, but had to try and make a decision nevertheless to find himself some clean air.
Kalen Chin on that lap there after he got past Marcel Fassbender set purple sector, purple sector, purple sector for the final 3 sectors on the lap. So he has got great pace, but on this lap, purple first sector, Marcel Fassbender.
It doesn't matter if you've got a purple first sector when you miss the chicane and miss the apex
yes,
by
that's
that
true.
much, because all of a sudden it is now all about Luis Nunez and how he can find a way through. At long last, on lap 18, Matteo Ugolotti is going to come in then and is going to make his stop. He will be followed in by Oliver Stepanov, and Andreas Henkel should have a commanding lead here as they go on the front stretch. Key's going to be how much of an advantage is Matteo Ugolotti going to have on his tyres. He's going to be behind by about 4 or 5 seconds, I'd have thought, at this point, but he's going to have much better tyres in comparison to Andreas Henkel.
Is it going to be too little too late, though? That's the big key. Now, where's Stepanov going to come out in relation to this pack? I'll tell you what, Stepanov's going to be right at the front of this group. This is going to turn into a brilliant 4-car battle, and 4 of the top 5 in the championship fight all in this group together.
I think he's clear of it, though.
He might be
clear
clear
by over a second, so
yeah, he is.
That's wonderfully done. He's clear by almost 2 seconds.
How did you do that without the soft tyres as well? It was incredible. Kalen Chin last lap by fastest lap of the race, 121.4. Incredible pace.
I mean, looking at the times that have been done here by Stepanov, all of his times, his last 5 lap times, were all within a 22.2 to a 22.4. That's wonderfully consistent from Oliver Stepanov, and that's what makes him so difficult to beat in a championship like this. You inconvenience him in the championship, and he'll still find the right result, as into the pits comes Cedric Beale for a second pit stop.
Yeah, we knew that he was probably not going to make it on a set of softs the whole way through the race, essentially. He came in on lap 1 to get a front wing replaced and had some damage to his rear wing, so no surprise that he hasn't been able to get it done, but it would have been nice to see him make it all the way. Only one driver left to pit, the 11 car of Victor R. He is going to continue on for another lap. So he's done a very, very good job on these medium tyres so far. He's not going to have too many to do on the softs when he comes in.
Well, he's going to look behind him because Jean Peterunda is just within a second, and only a couple seconds back of him is Oliver Stepanov and the group of Chin, Fassbender and Nunez. So this is a really important race, not just in terms of these drivers trying to find their points and trying to gain up through, but for a driver like Jean Peterunda, first time up here this season in the top, he's looking for an almighty points haul result today, and he might be on course to get a podium if it's not the 4 behind, who absolutely don't want him anywhere near it.
A slowdown from Marcel Fassbender. He's made a mistake. And how big of an error is this one?
Doesn't look like much. On the brakes he goes. Through, he's just a bit too aggressive on the inside, and that'll be the penalty. And that's him serving it and letting it go. Not much you can say or do about that. So not much there, but I tell you what, we were talking about, well, how much better is he going to be on his tyres? 22 flat, Andreas Henkel, 20.8. Matteo Ugolotti. Oh, that's eye-watering how quick he is.
That's incredible pace. We were impressed by the lap times done by the likes of Kalen Chin and then Stepanov, but wow, that's an incredible lap from Ugolotti. First flying lap on those new tyres, and he's taken almost 1.2 seconds out of the race leader. Brings it back to within 1.3 seconds. All pit stops are now done. Everyone has done their compulsory compound change. We're racing all the way to the end.
Get Victor Auer then releases Jean Peterunda into 3rd position. So we've got a fight for first, a fight for 3rd, and a fight for what is 5th position right now out on track. So it's all going on everywhere. Oliver Stepanov on the back of Jean Peterunda. Matteo Ugolotti, though, for the first time, going to take a little look at that dash, see if he's within a green check mark. He won't get it here. There's no DRS through this section, but it's going to be at this point in time, at 0.8 of a second, He's absolutely going to get those green lights on the dash to say, you've got the
There it
DRS.
is.
He's hit the mark. He gets the flashlight on, and he knows that he is going to now be shining brightly towards position number 1.
Look at Henkel trying to break the draft. It's going to be very, very ambitious to do that. Oliver Stepanoff through into 3rd position as well. He's just got that move done under brakes into the final corner. Speaking of under brakes, I tell you what, how aggressive was that from Ugolotti? I thought he was going to loop it there. Just dragging the left-hand wheels into the grass under brakes. Almost pushing the track limits to the absolute extreme, but did a good job to pull it up.
Yeah, he did well to pull it up, but he still has a chance to make the move into the Roger. He's not going to get there. He's got 6 laps to figure out the right way to make this pass, and it makes it very, very uncomfortable for Andreas Henkel, who knows he's got to be flawless here if he wants to hold him back.
And another DRS zone too. Don't forget, this is a DRS zone run down the hill. And Henkel knows it. He knows that he's got to be very, very protective. Not going to be close enough to get the move done here is Ugolotti, but tell you what, it just feels like a matter of time. This has been brilliant from Ugolotti since he's got these softs on.
It has, and now Andreas Henkel knows that he's a sitting duck here heading towards the Curva Alboreto. He knows that there's a look to the inside, and there's not much he can do except hit the brakes and try and attack off the exit, use the slipstream and get close once again. Matteo Ugolotti then takes the race lead back once again with 5 laps to go and has the DRS to defend, but there'll be full battery from Andreas Henkel trying to go to the outside and get this position back. He tries everything on that outside. He's not going to get there, and Ugolotti knows he's just got to break a second, and it's going to be a formality.
Yeah, he's just got to push now and push as hard as he can. And as you said, Henkel would have used every single bit of battery he had there to try and close that gap down, and may not have enough left in the battery to continue to push. And whether Ugolotti's got some battery in reserve himself to potentially fly away and get past that 1 second, we'll know very soon. Henkel will still have DRS at the moment. This little run down this straight. But I don't think it's going to be for much longer that he's going to have the DRS available.
Won't be for much longer indeed. That gap at 0.8 of a second as he runs through the left, the right and the left, flicking up over around a second as they go through. He's done well though through here to keep himself within, as he will now move to that mark running towards the Curva Alboreto. He'll get the green light though, and he'll be able to cover it off, but he's got to be concerned about how much battery he's actually deployed. He gets a huge snap of oversteer through the mid part of the corner, has to correct it, pulls him outside of a second. All of a sudden, Matteo Ugolotti's got the gap he's been searching for, and here's a little look from Marcel Fassbender. He's all over Luis Nunez.
This is a good battle. It's been going on for the last couple of laps. We just haven't been able to show it. Nunez has done a great job of defending the position from Marcel Fassbender, but I don't think it's going to be lasting for too much longer. And you can see almost conceding immediately as Luis Nunez, he just decides, well, I might as well tuck in, take the advantage of the next DRS zone, and then try and close it up. But I'm thinking that Nunez has gone the wrong way in regards to setup, because he just can't get the drive out of the corner. It just looks way too loose the whole way through the corners, doesn't it? The corner exit, especially out of that first chicane.
Yeah, especially when it comes to mechanical grip. I think he's on a little bit of a lacking side there, and he needs a little bit more in the car to help him out. And I tell you what, with the pace they've been working, how much they've been fighting Nunez and Fassbender, they might not even reach Jean-Peter Runda by the end of this race. The gap here between Chin and Runda right now is fluctuating around 2 seconds right now. Jean-Peter Runda has given an absolutely brilliant showcase of what he's needed to do from 3rd place on the grid. Yes, he's down 1, but take no credit away. He's driving a fantastic race.
100% is. He's done a brilliant job. And to think if there was a couple extra drivers that are right up there in regards to iRating, he wouldn't have even made this race. He would have been in 2nd split. So he's done a great job in this event. And with 3 laps to go, going to do everything he can to hold off. Kalen Chin half a second quicker on that previous lap. It's got to hold off 1.5 seconds. At that current pace, Kalen Chin hasn't got enough in the tank to get there. So he may have just done enough. Got to drive absolutely flawlessly for the next 2.5 laps though.
2.5 laps and half a second a lap, I think just gets there, especially with DRS from the last lap. So it might be for John Petterunda that he's got to have the widest car in all of Monza, in all of Northern Italy, if he's not too careful in the final stages of this race. It is very calm, by the way, all the way back. The only thing that's remotely close is the Eston Chapelone versus Rolly Schilter in the fight for 14th position. That gap is about a second at this point in time. That's the only other thing out there that is really up there. Andreas Henkel's not gone away, though, from Matteo Ugolotti. Look at that gap. It's stabilised at 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, it's just staying there, isn't it? It's just hovering between 1.1 and 1.3. Not really doing too much. It's just happy and content at that 1.2 odd second bracket. Gap here for Chin, though. It hasn't closed anywhere near as much as I was expecting on this lap. I thought it would have been down to about a second by now, but still at 1.2. It's only 0.3 in the favour of Kalen Chin on this lap.
Only 0.3. That is a really horrible feeling that you might not reach where you need to. Jean Petterunda doing a great job right now. Kalen Chin will be trying to throw the kitchen sink to get close. A couple of popsicle sticks up in the air. Barney in the flag tower saying we've got 2 laps to go here at Monza. Nunez and Fassbender sorted out in terms of this race. Stepanov surely all but guaranteed third. And this a race where at the moment there's your top 2 and it's slowly cranking out 1.4 seconds. And this is the breaking at the back for Andreas Henkel, who has done a very, very solid job today in terms of putting Ugolotti in a bit of trouble. The bad news is he hasn't had that extra little bit more that said he could get there to victory at this point. Kalen Chin looking to get closer. No DRS then as he ran up the hill in towards Ascari. But now, all of a sudden, that gap down to 9/10. He will have DRS for the final lap.
Yeah, and he's closing without the DRS now too. He just had a great exit out of Ascari as they get the white flag when they cross the line this time by, and you can see green light on the dash means DRS available when the DRS zone comes up at the start finish line.
This is an important move for the championship. This is of course a small field today of just 17. It means the strength of field is incredibly high, and points come at a premium. You need to find everything you can with 4 drivers today who felt like they could be race winners starting at the back of the field. They've all moved themselves up inside the top 7. For Kalen Chin to stay with Oliver Stepanov must make this move up into 4th position. It will be damage limitation if he does. So now on the brakes they go into the Della Roggia, this fight for 4th position. John Petterunda making his first run in top split this season now has the impossible task. Can he hold off number 3, Kalen Chin, at this point, running through? He knows this is where the DRS will open, and a big wiggle over the curbs might have just spared his bacon at this point, but there will still be that run to the Curva Alboreto to keep an eye on, because Matteo Ugolotti right now is running through the final corner, and he will take what is a big victory on virtual home soil. He will win the race here at Monza. Henkel second, Stepanov third, but now here comes Kalen Chin. He'll have to do it the long way around. Big look at the inside. He's not going to find it. The DRS activation point's a bit late as well. Jean Petterunda is going to hold on in the fight for 4th. What a drive this is. Chin couldn't do enough in the final stages of that race. Brilliant drive from him to hold on to 4th position. That was a great effort. Marcel Fassbender finishing in 6th behind. That was a lot of pressure coming from behind, and he held it off absolutely beautifully. Well done. Well deserved. Top 4. Deserved a podium, but I tell you what, he'll probably look back at that and think that's as good as a podium with the caliber of driver he had ahead and behind. Great result. But Matteo Ugolotti, way too good today. Way too good, and it's been a worrying trend for those at the top of the championship, Jay, especially when you consider 4 drop rounds. 100%. We'll, as we said, we'll get a bit of a guide in regards to how the drop rounds will play out when we get the championship standings for next week. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting season. I think there's probably still 4 or 5 drivers that could win the championship from this point. Of course, Stepanov's got one hand in that fight, but it's not as big a gap at the front of the championship as it looks on paper. I certainly agree. And Matteo Ugalotti's victory today in 35 minutes and 56 seconds proves just that. His margin of victory, 1.6 over Andreas Henkel today, who, making his first start in a while, really did show that he's still got the class and talent to go out there and perform at the highest level. Oliver Stepanov from 13th on the grid, able to plus 10, finish off in third, but he had to make that pass on Jean Peterunda. Those behind him, Kalen Chin, Marcel Fassbender, Luis Nunez, they couldn't reach him. What a great drive by the Norwegian. Third to fourth, -1. He's still my driver of the day. 8th position will belong to Anthony Catt. Again, solid points for him today. He'll take those in the bank and he will run with his championship efforts. And crucially, he finished ahead today of Felipe Giro. That gives him more buffer in terms of his fight right now. Felipe Giro finishing in 9th position. Adam Webb would round out the top 10. It's a very feisty battle in the back of the field. Victor Awad would finish 11th. Thomas Beek would recover to 12th after contact with Luis Nunez. He wasn't very happy about that. And on top of that, you got Brandon Powell in 13th, Rolly Schilter in 14th position. Iestin Chiapolona, of course, had that contact at turn 1 with Brandon Powell. He finishes off in 15th position, all three of them together. Cedric Beal had his issues on lap 1. That brings him back into 16th position. And the one retiree from this race is number 10, Kent Nielsen, who was doing very well up at the front of the field. I can say for certain right now that doughies are being performed out there on the front stretch, and they are being performed beautifully, but Circuit of the Americas, 1 week from today, it is the biggest Marmite circuit or Vegemite circuit in the world. You either love it or you hate it. No one is ever just passive about this track. I love it, you hate it. I think we're going to have a great race.
Oh, I agree that it'll be a great race, but yes, I'm on the hate team as opposed to the like team, and I was a bit shocked when you said you were on the like team, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the race there next week. You joked, you laughed and thought that was perfect when I said it was the Vegemite of F1 tracks, but it's absolutely perfect terminology for it because you never know what to expect and you never know whether someone's going to like it or hate it. But it does provide some good racing and there are some good elements to it. But yeah, it's not for me, unfortunately, but bring it on next week.
Bring it on indeed. The only place you can bring it on with us is here at SimSpeed TV. There is Matteo Ugalotti celebrating a victory on virtual home soil, and why wouldn't you? After a drive like that, he absolutely has proven his case here today. Want to give a massive thanks to the iRacing open wheel community, who of course have brought us some wonderful racing action time and time again, and they continue to do so and bring up funds to make that happen. On top of that, massive thanks goes to the Virtual Racing School on the replays for us here for the iRacing Grand Prix Series, and of course the team, Jay Kennedy, through COVID, are managing to get his brilliant commentary in forward for us. Of course, myself, Jake Sperry here along for the ride as well. Matteo Ugalotti has got himself an absolute rocket ship under his left and his right feet. He knows that all he needs to do is continue on this vein of pace, and he's going to make everybody else panic at just how quick he can be. This is by no stretch of the imagination a foregone conclusion with 4 rounds left to go. Oliver Stepanov knows he's got to look behind him because Kalen Chin is there. Luis Nunez is there as well, and they're going to push him all the way. And you've also got to keep an eye out on Marcel Fassbender on top of that. This is anybody's game. Circuit of the Americas. We'll see you 1 week from today when the championship battle rages on.